Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And in today's episode, we're asking the question, who burned down LA? Now, this question is prompted by the wildfires that has been in the news lately happening in Southern California. Devastating. And I say wildfire, I should really say wildfires because it's been plural. The Santa Ana winds driving it around, thousands of people out of their homes, millions, if not billions of dollars in damage, and even people dying. But I read an article this week in The Atlantic about how well-intentioned policies may have contributed to this. The argument goes like this. And California passed years ago something called Proposition 103, which limited reduced insurance premiums so that people would move into fire-prone areas. So in other words, it kind of capped what insurance companies could charge you for fire insurance. And as a consequence, people began to move with rapidity, move into areas that we knew were at danger for fire. In fact, some insurance companies, in response to Proposition 103, simply stopped offering homeowners insurance or fire insurance for property in these areas. State Farm is one example that just said, we won't do it because these areas are at incredibly high risk for fires. And you're building a property there that we don't think will stand the test of time. As a result, California passed the FAIR plan, which basically said if you can't find insurance under the cap, the state itself will insure you. So, of course, people are moving into these areas and building homes and building businesses, even though the whole time we know there's a high risk for fire. Zoning laws have played a factor too, because what is happening is in safe areas to build homes, zoning laws are restricting the number of dwellings, zoning some areas commercial, so that if you want to build a home, eventually the only land you can buy is in a fire-prone area. So that when something like this happens, even though it's catastrophic and horrific and in some ways once in a generation, it's a little bit like building a house on the beach in Florida. Hurricanes happen in these areas because of the dryness, because of the wind, because of a lot of things. You are going to see fires, and when they come, they're going to spread. So you have a lot of people now saying we shouldn't be surprised, and in fact, some other people saying we never should have built houses there at all. Now, why is this a biblical theological question? Well, before I answer that, let me just say this. Overwhelmingly, the Christian response to the wildfires in Southern California should be one of compassion and grief and empathy. People are losing their homes, losing their family members, losing their lives. That should break our hearts. And when we have ability, we should be generous to the people there, seeking to help alleviate whatever burden we can. It is awful and should break our hearts. But the reason this is a relevant question for Wake Up, Look Up is because when something like this happens, the immediate question tends to be, where is God? Is God causing the fire? Could God have stopped the fire? Why didn't he stop the fire? And those are fine questions, but they presuppose something that maybe we shouldn't presuppose, and that is that God is the primary actor in the fires, that God is burning down LA, when in fact, we are the ones doing that. So the Bible tells us that there's a human responsibility to shape and mold the planet. When God put Adam and Eve in the garden in Genesis 2, he tells them to be fruitful and multiply, to spread all over the world, to have dominion over it. But to be responsible for something is to make strategic, intentional, responsible choices. The truth is, what's been driving our culture for a long time is self-fulfillment, not stewardship. We treat this planet as though it's ours, not God's. And as a consequence, we ignore all that science is telling us. Things like you shouldn't build a home there. Things like that area is prone to fire and shouldn't be a place where we're building businesses and homes and investing our lives. When we ignore that, it's because we're thinking human domination will conquer nature, and it doesn't work that way. We weren't designed to rule over nature. We were designed to steward the earth in participation with it. So we have to acknowledge that when we build a home in a high-risk environment, we should know what we're doing. There are consequences to human decisions. Hosea 4 says that a lack of knowledge leads to people perishing. What we have to do is pay attention to what science is saying, pay attention to what engineers are saying, pay attention to what good stewardship of earthly resources look like. And understand, I'm not saying that if your home burned down in the fires of LA, it's your fault. People buy homes that exist. Part of the role of things like zoning laws should be to be clear as to where is safe and where isn't, what is wise and what isn't. There is a natural order to the world. And when we fly in the face of that, we face consequences. And when that happens, the appropriate question, at least the appropriate first question, isn't where is God? God gave us the earth. God calls us to wisdom. God calls us to stewardship. The question should be, what did we get wrong? What did we miss? And how can we avoid this in the future? The truth is, we make decisions every day on an individual scale and on a societal scale. And those decisions, those ideas have consequences. And when the consequences are devastating, oftentimes it's true, we can trace them back to ideas that we should have rejected in the first place. Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode of Wake Up, Look Up. While you're here, take a minute to like and subscribe. Really helps us get the word out. Don't hesitate to leave a review wherever you might find this podcast on an audio level and help spread the word. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content we have at Christ Community Chapel on YouTube. Some of those videos are popping up on the screen now. Click on one.